What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Banyue's character demo, Martial Arts Review. Based on the name and just the fact that this is a demo, I'm expecting some good action out of this, maybe some more info about him as a character, but mainly the action intensity, the vibes more than anything. That's usually what these demos are for. So I'm not going to delay at all. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment on your thoughts. Consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra. And let's get into this.
Next up in local news, several residents have recently filed complaints against a martial arts school for disturbances and regulatory violations.
Oh no.
The martial arts school has been ordered to suspend operations, and tops have confirmed that internal investigations are underway.
Oh no, he's got in trouble, I guess. Oh no. Oh god, that's goofy.
Let's get...
Nice catch.
Let's get started. Did you organize and profit from illegal underground fights?
Oh.
Typically, it's not underground. Too damp. Bad for your health.
What I'm asking is, did you...
A bit too literal there.
More like this.
Oh? What?
Allow me to demonstrate.
Okay, the transition to 2D animation. With, I'm forgetting his name, but that guy right there was the guy from the story. Interesting.
Your martial arts school has been reported for disturbances 18 times now.
Damn.
Have you used violence during your teaching?
Violence in martial arts? No, definitely. I'm loving the 2D stuff.
I'm fine, Shifu. I'll keep going.
Glad you're all right.
Damn. Jesus Christ.
What exactly are you trying to do with this school of yours?
Help people. Make sure that they can defend themselves. Something like that. I like that this transitions to the hollow. Oh. All right, let's see it. Protect that child, Banyue. Hell, yo, into the 2D. Hell yeah. Oh, that impact frame. Also love the music. God. I am so hyped for this. Oh. Holy shit, he handled those guys with ease.
If only I could be as strong as you, I'd be able to protect everyone.
And there it is. His motivation to teach people.
Is something the matter?
Oh?
We're conducting an interview. I'll submit a final report once the investigation is finished.
Don't worry.
Yep.
I'll take it from here. Okay, see you around.
Good old Krampus. He's asleep.
Looks like it's lunchtime. Alrighty, I'll come back later.
Okay. This demo is a delight visually. There ultimately isn't a ton going on the narrative side. It really is just what it needs to show off what it wants to show. But once again, visually, this is so good. We open with the context that several complaints have come in about Banyue's martial arts school. We heard something along these lines actually early on in the story, if I remember correctly, so it makes sense for this to be something that's picked up here. We then learn through this narration that sounds like it's a news broadcast of some kind, that the martial arts school has been suspended from operation, and that it is Tops who is doing internal investigations. As we're getting this info, it shows us this shot of a close-up on Banyue, where he seems to be sort of struggling almost, which gives the impression that he might be like handcuffed or tied up or something like that, immediately setting a level of tension for the demo to make us think that this is a serious occurrence. This is something that is a big deal that is happening. But then as we have our interviewee / interrogator coming in, we reveal, no, it's not anything that serious. It's actually he's just stuck in the chair because he is a big guy. Believe it or not, chairs are not built for robot lions, which immediately removes a lot of the tension of this scene. Intentionally so. Banyue, trying to be polite, does this sort of squat stand to give a little bit of like a bow in acknowledgement of them coming in, but it's super goofy and awkward because he's stuck in the chair. But with that release of tension out of the way, they don't keep it entirely goofy throughout this. They do still emphasize that Banyue is a capable person. Despite getting stuck in the chair, when this woman accidentally knocks her water cup off of the table, his tail is fast and dexterous enough to grab it before it falls and set it back down on the table. And from there we get into the questioning. Here we have another case of this seeming like it's a big deal just to be undercut by what's going on. She's asking very seriously here, did you organize and profit from illegal underground fights? Presumably a rumor or something that has been going around about him. But his response is incredibly mundane and matter-of-fact, as if he's not processing how severe the situation is, potentially. He's essentially admitting to it because he takes the question literally and is like, oh, well, typically it's not underground. That's bad for your health. It can be damp down in the underground, whatever, that kind of thing, which is doing him no favors. But I do find this moment interesting because compared to a lot of the other shots and just the nature of Zenless, usually their animation is very bombastic and animated, and within that they've always had their subtle elements to the animation, but this moment I find sort of interesting because there really isn't a ton going on. It's not a dynamic shot, there's not a lot of motion, but what is happening is just some natural motion of Banyue talking. It's mainly his head and jaw move, which is just interesting. That's not the kind of thing we usually see from Zenless. But regardless, after that moment, she tries to get things back on track and gesticulates out, and for whatever reason, Banyue looks at that gesticulation and goes, oh no, your stance is wrong, more like this, and adjusts her positioning of her arm, which realistically is probably an almost instinctual thing for him to correct people's form, that kind of thing. But what it ultimately does is serve as a transition into the first 2D element, more specifically to a time presumably in the past where he was correcting the form of the man who was from the story. Once again, I forget his name. And it's here in this first segment that we see the calm mundanity of his martial arts school, making it look like a legitimate space that isn't actually an issue necessarily. And then pulling out of that, we return to the questioning, where actually as a good comparison to the moment before of Banyue talking, we have a much more Zenless style flourish on her asking the next question, with her leaning onto her hand, twirling her pen around. That's the kind of visual aesthetic I sort of associate with Zenless. So I'm very intrigued by that previous shot. I don't know why it stuck with me necessarily so much, but I think just the level of understatedness of it surprised me. But not in a bad way, I'd say. Being able to do those understated moments is very important. But then regardless, she is bringing up what the main thing we heard about ahead of time, that was the issue here, is being the variety of disturbances that have been reported. At which point the question of have you used violence in your teaching comes up, which sends us into our next 2D element. They're setting up this pattern of a question is asked, and then we see a flashback to a 2D element. And in this segment, we get to see how grueling Banyue's training can be, where the previous shot showed it as fairly normal to be expected for a martial arts school. Here, we see the more extreme elements. Though it doesn't necessarily seem like Banyue was putting much force or effort towards this potential blow at his exhausted student, it serves its purpose, as it, at the very least in the eyes of his student, serves as a threat of violence if he does not get up and continue training. And it's here where I would ask the question, do we think Banyue was legitimately going to strike his student or threaten to, or do we think that was something entirely different and just interpreted as a threat of violence by his student? It ultimately is hard to say, but I feel like there is merit in asking the question. But we then see, despite whatever his intentions may have been in that moment, the training he subjects his students to is beyond extreme, forcing them to do acts of extreme dexterity or strength as training that clearly pushes them to their limits. And so with that, having effectively admitted to the two things that she asked of him, even if he views them not in the sense that she does, she asks the underlying question: what exactly are you trying to do with this school of yours? And where the other two questions were more just detail-oriented factual things, this very much hits to the core of Banyue as a person. As he became the person he is now, what led him to want to teach others how to defend themselves? What made him want to teach martial arts? And rather than getting a specific answer from his own mouth, we instead witness a moment of the past once again. We see a moment of disaster, of carnage caused by ethereals, and of Banyue being there to defend the children and injured. It jumps into the 2D animation for the actual fight scene, which is just visually splendid to look at. It is easily the best thing we've seen of Banyue fighting at all. Like, the spectacle of it is incredible. The power that it shows that he has, it's all spectacular. But it's only after the fight that we get our answer to why he started his school. After Banyue saves this child, he says, "If only I could be as strong as you, I'd be able to protect everyone." And it's perhaps in this moment, depending on how far back this flashback is, that Banyue had the idea to start a school. He wishes to help people. He wishes to sever himself from his past, do any good deed he can. And perhaps in this moment, he realized the most good I can do is not to individually save people that I can reach, but to train those who want to also protect others and themselves to be able to do it as well, therefore effectively expanding the reach of good he can achieve immeasurably. It may have led to him being harsh on his students, but it is because he wants to make sure that they are as ready as possible to protect themselves and others. And as those words from that child echo in Banyue's mind, we return to the questioning. But before she can continue, there's a knock at the door. And what do you know, the person interrupting is none other than Dailin, which makes sense. If we are to believe that this is after the current storyline, Krampus and especially Dailin have a vested interest in Banyue and making sure that he is not arrested for anything necessarily. They want him in the fold. So if they have to bend the rules a little bit for him, that's not a big deal. They want to get on his good side, get him ingratiated to Krampus and Tops so that he will be willing to join them. But evidently, at least in this moment, Dailin is not going to be able to have much time to do much with Banyue here, seeing as, oh, it's lunchtime, he's asleep now, which is quite random but funny. It seems like pretty much the moment it turned to 1 o'clock, he fell asleep. Maybe it's something in his programming or something like that. Either way, it is real goofy and just a fun way to end the trailer. And in line with that, we end with Dailin not actually angry or annoyed even, just a little tired at the fact that he's fallen asleep, saying, "Alrighty, I'll come back later." But it's there that the demo ends, with the sound of Banyue snoring. I really like this demo. Narratively and thematically, it doesn't necessarily blow me away in any way. It's really just sort of the stuff we already knew about him, but focusing more on the element of him being a teacher at a martial arts school, but very much so the place that this is elevated to be really, really good is in the animation. Both the 3D and 2D elements are amazing. The 3D elements are much more understated, of course. It's all just in this one more mundane scene, but then on the side of the 2D animation, they really go all out on just the flair and everything, especially in that last segment, which I really love. But with that, I don't necessarily have too much more to say about the demo specifically, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including at the normal tier, Desaize, Pokelove, and Amorphosilica. Don't know if I'm saying that one quite right, but let me know if I'm getting it wrong, and Kondo Nano at the Cool Person tier. Really appreciate your support, as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye!